Hi everyone, it's been a while since my last devlog. I didn't plan to have such an extended period of time without posting anything, but I wanted to have something more substantial to show rather than small changes here and there. So what's new? Well, as you can see, there are some new types of enemies added to the game, something that was quite lacking in the previous versions. I only had this rabbit, which was mostly used as a placeholder. However, this has completely changed. The overall look and design is very different, with leaves and flowers around his neck and some creepy red eyes which suggest he has gone insane. The AI behavior has also changed a bit. Aside from moving left and right, after detecting the player, the rabbit also jumps around a bit and occasionally dashes forward, making it a bit more challenging. The second enemy is a flying frog or mosquito or something. Initially I wanted to be a mosquito, but then I switched to a frog, and lastly it ended up being a mix of both. This one flies on a specific path and when it attacks the player, charges and then spits projectiles. Third one is another flying enemy, except this one has a gun and chases the player to an extent. When it comes to its design, I was going for some sort of a flying rabbit-like head with wings, but then I realized having two pairs of ears could be more interesting. The next one is a crazy turkey or rooster or something in between. Whenever it attacks the player, goes berserk, flapping its wings and throwing eggs. I'm pretty sure this is one of the enemies maybe players will love to hate. I don't know, since it can be a bit annoying, but I hope in a good way annoying, if that makes sense. Anyway, the next enemy is a bug-like creature with horns similar to a goat. There's no projectile this time, it charges and chases the player. And lastly, there is the scared beaver. It was somewhat loosely based on that animal, but then changed a bit into something else. This one, when it attacks the player, flips out and jumps around in panic. I'm not 100% happy with his behavior, but for the moment kind of works, so it's fine. As for the weapon they use, I had quite a difficult time deciding what they should look like. The first version that I made looked too modernish in a way, so I changed the design into something a bit more playful. Then I worked on the dismemberment and gore effects, which have been improved. For example, the first version of this rabbit had some effects, but I decided to dial up things even more. At one point, the head even split in two after taking more damage. This applies to an extent to other enemies. For example, the turkey will remain headless at one point. As for the rest, the visible damage is more or less lighter. And of course, after all this they blow up like piñatas, which can be very satisfying, especially after adding some sound effects. And speaking of that, yep, I also added a bunch of sounds to the game which bring everything to life. But you see, there was a problem. One of the things that kind of confused me was how much sound things on the screen should have so it doesn't get overwhelming. So I looked around a bit and studied how games apply sound to different enemies. For example, Hollow Knight has sound effects, but only to certain actions and vary from enemy to enemy. I really never noticed that while I was playing the game, mainly because the music and the ambient sound complement the game so well. But on the other hand, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is more richer in sound. It looks like they added sound effects to every single enemy. Anyway, I have decided to take the Hollow Knight approach and added a few sound effects to enemies, especially the flying ones. The gameplay has also seen some improvements, especially how the shotgun behaves. Basically, it can provide the player with an extra jump. It's somewhat similar to the pogo jump from Hollow Knight or Shovel Knight, except this one can be done in empty air as well multiple times. As more weapons will be added to the game, I do intend to make each one of them rather unique. Looking back on all the progress made from the initial gameplay video to the current one made me realize how far I've come, and I do start to see more and more potential in this game. However, the progress can be rather slow sometimes and have all sorts of setbacks. I have to admit, I feel a bit weird compressing all the work made in a few months in just a few minutes, but I don't want to stretch things unnecessarily. So at the end, enjoy a few more seconds of recorded gameplay, and see you next time, hopefully sooner than later.